I heard radio was an easy A and I wanted to party. Oh, rock's kind of dead anyways. I'm not the conspiracy theorist that thinks she completely did it, right? But let's be, authentic. And then backstage, there's been a couple bands where their managers have said, "Hey, I don't think you're okay to interview his sexuality." He exudes sexual energy. He's
Mhm.
bisexual. He's not afraid to admit it. We had been drinking all day out by the pool. How does this even happen?
Oh, you're so sweet, I swear. Te mando un besito.
All right, cool. We're on Disco Acid Cult TV. We are joined today by a special guest, Stef, the host of Stef's Rock Show. Introduce
Rock and
yourself.
roll.
Hi, what's up? I'm Stef of Stef's Rock Show. I started radio in 2004, but I started my podcast last year in 2024.
Dude, you really do have a good radio voice.
Thank you.
That was
Yeah.
solid. Yeah, I wish
Yeah.
I had that. That's one of my biggest insecurities about doing this thing is my voice. And I smoke so many cigarettes. I'm constantly
I
fighting.
smoke cigarettes too. Thanks for having me on too, guys.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for coming
Finally,
on.
it happened. Like it's been so
Yes.
long, like months of just like planning it, and I'm like, you know what? She's gonna be a good addition, like for an interview, just to see, because you've been in it for a while, right? Like
Yeah.
going to concerts and like interviewing like all kinds of rock stars and shit. Like, man,
Lots of interviews, 21 years now. Aftershocks coming up in 2 weeks, 115 bands. So many stories that sometimes I forget a story and then I'll remember it later. So it's
Mm.
crazy.
So I was gonna say first and foremost, obviously you're a big rock and roll fan. You've been in the rock music world for a long time. I guess all the way back to I would assume when you were a kid. I feel like everybody has one. For me, it was School of Rock with Jack Black when I saw that movie in 2005, I think it was.
Yeah.
I went out and got an AC/DC shirt basically. So what for you, do you have that moment where you found something rock and roll related and you were like, "Oh, this is it."
I grew up riding on the back of my dad's motorcycle, and he played a lot of Motley Crue and Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Aerosmith. So being on the back of my dad's motorcycle, being taken to school and picking up and hearing that music, and he hung out in the garage and had garage beers and worked on his dirt bikes and played it, and I idolized him. So I wanted to like the music he liked.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's always a childhood story.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
getting into rock and roll. I guess so from there on out, when did you decide like radio like when did you decide I want to talk? I want to talk to these people.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Very late because I started in dance. I started in competitive dance at 3, tap, jazz, and ballet. So I wanted to be a dancer. I backup dance for Mr. Fab. He's a Bay Area rapper. I thought, oh, I'm going to stay in dancing. Well, I went to college and I heard radio was an easy A and I wanted to party at University of the Pacific. I found K-Pac radio just to get an easy A and I loved it. I did Metal Mondays where people would call in on Mondays and I would play hair metal and we would joke and make fun of people on campus or talk about rumors and the news and a little bit of everything. And I just found this was my calling because I like to make people laugh my whole life. So to make them laugh in a larger, concept on air was really fun.
Nice. I have a question. So, like,
Yeah.
what do you? So you've been in it for a while, right? And what have you seen in rock and roll that's changed? Do you believe like it's making a comeback with the whole like young blood? Which let's bring up that topic. Let's
No,
bring
that's
up that
great.
like
I
I think
love
like
Steven Tyler and Youngblood getting together, and they're
yeah
releasing an EP soon with 5 songs, so that is neat. I will say it's making a comeback, right? Like, I got out of the game for 6 years. I'm raising 2 kids, working, in the restaurant industry and houses, and, I was like, "Oh, rock's kinda dead anyways." Well, last year I start this podcast and I see it making a huge comeback. It's more mainstream and popular. I'm loving Offset and Drowning Pool, like, rap and rock coming together and doing
no,
mashups. I think people are becoming more accepting. Remember how like shock rock and Marilyn Manson was so wild and crazy, and
yeah
now you see so many crazy things all the time on TikTok or the news or whatnot. I think rock is definitely becoming more acceptable than shunned.
Yeah. So like, I mean, okay, so I have a few like theories on this, like, and I know Beckett has some too. Like, I like Youngblood. I remember watching him when he was first coming to LA, and he was just doing the whiskey, and it was like 30, 40 people. You know, it wasn't a lot of people. And I was like, this guy is gonna be pretty huge, like one day. I know it. And he has talent. But I don't know what it is about him, to be honest with you. And like it's just that like old school rock and roll spirit, like that like sleaziness is just not there. It's kind of like it's giving like theater kid vibes. But the thing is like, so the thing is he's talented. So I'm not saying he's not talented, obviously. So he's a really good singer, really good showman, but it's like, um, do you what is the difference between him and a lot of the bands that you like have been around like when you first started coming out? Like what do you see this
Oh,
difference?
his sexuality. He exudes sexual energy. He's
Mhm.
bisexual. He's not afraid to admit it. I've dated both
Yeah.
genders. So I love a man that goes, I'm comfortable in my skin and my body. I'm going to hook up with a man one night or a woman. I'm all about energy, the confidence, right? So he's got
Yeah.
massive confidence. And I will bang a 3 with confidence over a 7 that's cocky and like obsessed with the
Yeah. All right.
box.
All
You
right.
know what I mean? So his attitude.
All right.
So if we're doing Youngblood specifically, I'm the Youngblood hater. I'm probably the Youngblood hater of this channel.
Oh
I think
man.
Johnny's a little bit more graceful to him. I will give him the voice though. His voice is awesome. I'm very jealous of. He's got that raspy voice. Um, I'm just not a fan of him, but I won't sit here and bash on him for more than I already have on the channel. Um, I'm way more pessimistic on the state of actually kind of like the way Johnny put it one time, where he said rock music is alive and well, but rock and roll, at least in the way that I like it, I would say is kind of not as maybe just not as alive as I would want it to be. I don't know. I kind of think the world is too sensitive for the kind of rock and roll that I want. You know, that's always my kind of take on it. I think yeah, it's hard to like pinpoint. A lot of the, you know, just a lot of like the personalities are not the same. I've been saying that for a long time. We're not really replacing these personalities. I kind of joke, people talk about America's like declining birth rate. I'm like, well, there's a rock and roll declining birth rate. You know,
Yeah.
when we saw Ozzy's last show, you know, there was that video, I think Metallica posted it. It was just all of these guys, anybody who's anybody hanging out backstage. You know, Billy Corgan was there, Steven Tyler was there, who, you know, whoever was there, and I'm like, we're really not replacing any of these guys. You know, they're pushing Youngblood now as this is a new rock and roll guy. But aside from
Yeah.
him,
Which is
as much as I hate to say it, it really does pain me to say, like Machine Gun Kelly might be like the closest thing to a rock star I could think of aside from
oh
I
my
Youngblood.
love
god.
Ronnie Radke. He pushes the envelope and he's
Oh,
crazy and
Ronnie,
people hate
Ronnie,
him.
yes,
I love
Ronnie,
him.
yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love Ronnie Radke. Yeah.
He's
I
a
will
vibe.
say I'm not the biggest fan of Falling in Reverse. To me, with Ronnie's music, Escape the Fate's first 2 albums are still 10 out of 10s. Dying is
Yeah.
your latest fashion. There's no sympathy for the dead. I love those.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of Falling in Reverse, but as a rock and roll personality, I do love Ronnie.
Yeah.
He's undeniable. He can get online and piss off everybody and then pull 10 million views on a YouTube video the next day. So it's
Yes.
what are you
And he
gonna do to him?
calls out people that are child molesters or that have
Mhm.
done horrible things. So I love that.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
won't care who you are and what you're trying to do. If you've done something bad, he'll call you out. I like that.
Yeah, definitely he is a good character, I think, to have
Mhm.
in the rock and roll genre.
And you
You know,
don't want
like
to piss him off. You do not want to be on his
Yeah,
bad
I know,
side.
dude. So I like that whole like the thing with Tommy Lee and Brittany
Brittany
Furlan. Like
Furlong.
that was crazy. That was
Yeah.
wild.
How do you get catfish like that though? Okay, first of all, you're dating
Yeah,
Tommy
dude.
Lee, right? That's badass. How fucking cool is that, honey? Just stay home with his old ass and cuddle him. And you're
But
answering shitty Snapchats and thinking you're a younger rock star wants you and you're outside his place. How does this even happen?
I don't know. Like it was like very obviously not him.
Yes.
You know, like meet me
Yes.
in front of my house. Like it's just weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then they also have a theory that that was him and he's just using a fake account and like,
there's no
but
way it was
still,
him.
I
yeah.
don't think
But
it was him
I'm like,
either,
but that
but
doesn't make any sense because I saw what Britney did. Like she kind of released, like what was it, like 2 days before? It was like, oh, they're having splits because the drinking of Tommy Lee, And I'm like, okay, so you plant that info so you can hide what's actually about to come. And then Ronnie just like goes ape shit on all of it, which is, I love it.
Yeah. Well, because
I
he didn't wanna look like the bad guy, and he's not, and Brittany and Tommy are still together. Good for them,
Yeah,
I
they
guess,
are. Yeah.
for working it out, but Brittany seems like a very intelligent woman, and that's what perplexed me about the whole situation, how she could get fooled into this.
I made a my most viewed piece of content is that I made like an hour-long video about that scenario on the channel, and one of the things I pointed out was not only that she seems intelligent, but she's famous on the internet. She's like an internet celebrity. So you would think if anyone's going to be savvy to the tricks of the internet, it would be someone like her. She talked about it on, I think, like on a podcast episode kind of after it. And she did the, I don't want to say typical thing, but she was like, I was feeling like shit. I was lonely. I was
Yeah.
taking attention. She said that she was talking to Chat GPT as if it was her boyfriend. Like that's how bad it got. And it's like, okay, I mean, I'm not gonna be a total dick
Wow.
and be like, you sound ridiculous. But yeah, I get the people get there. I've been down bad for a few years. I joke about that on the channel all the time. Not to the point where I'm falling for catfish and talking to Chat GPT, but it was a funny.
I don't understand why people stay married. I maybe give bad advice, but I've been divorced twice. If I'm unhappy, I'm not gonna cheat ever. I'm gonna file divorce and start over again. I'm not afraid to start over. So I get frustrated when people cheat and stay in the marriage and not say, "Hey, we need to go to counseling. Obviously, we're disconnected," or they wanna work it out, then they need to sit down and have a conversation.
Correct.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess at the
Mm.
end of the day, good for them that they are working it out. She's been posting, they've been doing
Yeah.
their residency in Vegas and she's been there and it seems like she's been hyped. So that's all good. Tommy
Yeah,
Lee,
so what about that? Like with I seen the residency in Vegas and everything. I'm like, all right, cool. But then is like, is this like anything realistic to this whole, like, I know they're beefing with Mars or whatever, and apparently I guess Nikki tweeted something and said like he lied to everybody or something. I don't know what's going on there.
That
Like,
Mars is using the backtrack, or that they use background, backing tracks, and but to be honest, I don't even care if they do or they don't. They're now in their 60s. They've been rocking for
yeah,
so
like so
long.
we're
Who
like,
fucking
dude,
cares if they
yeah,
use a backtrack? I don't. I'll go see them,
like it's
you
Motley
know?
Crue. I mean,
Do
come
you guys
on. Like,
care?
I mean, here's my opinion on that. So obviously I'm not a fan of backing tracks at all. Like I think if you're gonna do rock and roll, like you should just do it raw. But there are obviously different types of genre subgenres in rock and roll where you need that. Like if you're garbage, you need backing tracks to kind of fill that void and the techno and all that stuff. But my thing with like the new bands is kind of like, I can see if you're criticizing a band that's 19, but like, bro, they already proved their rock and roll like history. Like they've earned their right to be legends already.
It's
You
gonna be
know,
harder to perform at their age,
yeah. So
alcohol,
they need
smoking,
that.
everything too. So,
And people complain
yeah.
about Vince Neil, like, oh, he's not, he sounds like shit. I'm like, yeah, of course he does, but it's like that's why I rather have backing tracks, kind of, to make
Yeah.
it kind of like an elevated performance and event.
No,
I,
definitely.
I think Vince is almost the proof that they don't. So first and foremost, absolutely
That's funny.
they've paid their dues. If they want to use backing tracks, that's fine. I mean, literally, they've been around since the early '80s. They've done
Yeah.
their time. They've proved themselves. I am as respectful about it as I can be. Again, Vince Neil has paid his dues, one of the greatest rock and roll frontmen of all time. But I can be honest and acknowledge that he does not sound the same today as he did in the '80s.
Yeah.
But to me, that's kind of the proof. If they were going to use backtracks, don't you think they would just backtrack Vince's vocals?
Yeah.
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 But they've
For
got
real.
him out there sounding like he sounds today. Like, so why would Nikki go, let's do, because that's always the biggest accusation. Nikki doesn't play bass. Bro, maybe Nikki couldn't play bass in the '80s, and everyone said that. Everyone said, yeah, it was a tool for him. He saw it more. The way that Courtney Love sees guitar, it's just kind of an instrument, like aesthetic-wise on stage to look like a rock star. But dude, I'm like would bet you all my money that Nikki Sixx has spent time learning how to play bass now since the '80s. I guarantee you he knows how to play bass. So yeah, why would Nikki say I'm going to backtrack all my basses, but Vince, you're going to sing completely naturally, and it's like that makes no sense. So it's kind of terrible what's going on between. I mean, Nikki Sixx has a tattoo of Mick
Make
Mars'
Mars on
bass.
his leg or some shit like that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel bad for them, but like I keep saying, you know, me and Proto Max just talked about it. Again, we talked about Hall & Oates on the stream on Monday. Pretty much any rock stars you look up to, they probably hate each other. They probably tour in separate tour buses. It just kind of is the way things go, I think, when you spend that much time together. I don't know. I would imagine it's different now that they have John 5. I know John 5 is actually good friends with all of them. And I think
Yeah.
I've always thought most of the beef in Motley Crue is mostly Tommy and Vince. They seem to be the two that get into it the most. And they went to high school together. So it does always tend to be the guys that you would think would be the closest. I think that's just kind of how it goes. And at the end of the day, I'm sure they are brothers and they all still love each other no matter what. You know, if some shit really popped off, I think they'd all be there for each other. But yeah, that whole rant just to say, yeah, no, I don't think they backtrack their entire sets. Yeah, I'm sure there are backtracks. I'm sure there are. It's funny how that's almost exclusively an 80s thing. Like only, I mean, you still see like Sebastian Bach and Chris Jericho beefing about, well, yeah, he uses tracks. He's a pussy. They're using tracks. Meanwhile, you've got Post Malone playing sets that are entirely
Not
shamelessly.
entirely tracks.
Yeah, it really is like an 80s
Just
rock
rapping and
star
singing over the
pride
beat.
thing to be like, we don't use tracks, we're pure rock and roll. Meanwhile, everyone else is just out there lip syncing their full sets to the album. It's crazy.
I mean, and
Yeah.
plus when you're in a stadium, like you kind of need backing tracks to kind of amplify the sound too. You know, rock and roll was really made for like very small, I would say like theaters or 200-seat venues like the Whiskey Go Go or something. Like it wasn't made for this huge stadium. So I mean, I think backing tracks help sometimes. But if you are a younger band, I do feel like it's like, dude, like that's what's missing. Like, is okay. For example, you bring any band today, right? And you take them and you put them here. You play a video of one of their, I guess, when they're performing live or something, and then you pull up like AC/DC, Let There Be Rock, and you just feel the difference. I don't know, like I don't know what it is. It's like you can tell like the authenticity versus just like complete lack of talent. I don't know.
Yeah.
Since we started off kind of like let's start off with childhood and early stories, and then we just kind of jumped into stuff.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go all out. Steph, you got to give us a crazy. I don't know. Do you have any like default? Like if someone asks you the generic question, like what's your favorite crazy story? Like maybe favorite interview. I don't know. Like have you ever interviewed really big rock stars way too drunk to be doing your job? And
Get controversial, please.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely. I mean, I was dating and living with Joey Jordison when he was writing the second Murder Doll album with Wednesday 13, and I was like, "You gotta come by my show," and he put me in the album. I was so grateful, and I said, "Okay." So I sat down with Joey, and we did a whole interview, but we had been drinking all day out by the pool. So there's little clips. I've posted little clips like in my reels, but we can't post the interview because he doesn't remember it, and it was too wasted. And rest in peace now. Like I would never post it. Like I love his mom. But and then backstage, there's been a couple bands where their managers have said, "Hey, I don't think you're okay to interview." You know what I mean? You're too drunk. Asking Alexandra was too drunk one time, and
that
they
checks out.
weren't allowed to
That
interview when
definitely
they were
checks
supposed
out.
to. Yeah, yeah. I've had a couple bands say, I need you to edit or cut those interviews that I did at the Rainbow back in the day, because same thing, they were too intoxicated. And but yeah, just the madness was so crazy back in the day. And I just loved, it's funny now that we're all older, everyone's married and their kids are backstage and we're drinking our water and taking breaks. It's become very different from 15 years ago.
So what decade did you really grow? What decade of rock and roll did you really, I guess, grow up in? As far as like
Well,
being in the scene.
being in the scene 2004. So,
Ooh, yeah,
it
man.
was Jeffree Star was playing music,
Oh
303
yeah.
was
Yeah,
popping,
yeah.
like Black Veil Brides, like all those were the hot topic bands, I want to say. Like the emo phase and the
Oh yeah.
emo pop punk was really on
Yeah,
fire at that point. Yeah. The
And then we
Used.
also had, it's such a random era because we also had like the Strokes and the White Stripes were coming up in.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I got,
Well,
when you get in that section, I got in heavy metal and like emo rock. So I got kind of put in that category. And so I love everything though. I literally love all music. I like rap, hip hop, EDM. That's what I interview. And so that's like my little section.
one thing I for sure wanted to ask, if you had to pick, right, like gun to your head, what's your favorite decade for rock and roll, specifically for rock and roll, I guess.
You
or
better
just
say
all.
80s.
I'll be honest, as much as I grew up with the 80s, because my dad's a huge 80s fan, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to say 90s because it's when I became a teenager and puberty, and that's like where music hit me the hardest was alone in my room from 12 to 15. So those 90s grunge and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Marilyn Manson and Bloodhound Gang and CKY Laughing too, like all those 90s, the music hit me when I was going through a weird phase in my life, so it stands out the most.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love the 90s. That was really the first decade when I started going back in time. When I was in high school, for some reason, where I went to school and me and my friends, it was not cool to listen to older music. We were very into MySpace, like Never Shout Never, Forever the Sickest Kids. That was our thing. And then we moved on to Asking Alexandria, Attack Attack, the metalcore stuff. But once I got out of high school, like 19, I started getting into 90s. I got into like Mudhoney, Alice in Chains,
Oh yeah.
L7, Hole, right? I love Courtney Love. I think she needs more defenders. That's just me. I get people that don't like her, but that's just me.
Yeah, I like her. She's
Yeah,
fun.
I think she's also kind of undeniable. Like you might hate her, but at the end of the day, when she was a teenager, she wrote in her journal that she was going to be a rock star. Well, so did all of us, and I'm not a rock star. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah, I didn't write in my journal I was gonna bang rock stars, it just happened, so I got lucky.
yeah. See, so that makes sense. You pick a decade that's actually personal to you. I usually go 80s. I'm known to change though. Like before I started this channel, I was really 70s. That's why the name is Disco Acid Cold TV, because I was into the late 60s and the 70s. And I still love, I love the Southern rock stuff, Allman Brothers, Leonard
Oh
Skinner,
yeah. Big time.
Grand
Yeah.
Funk Railroad. That stuff is great. I just
Yeah.
think the 80s, there's something about like creativity in the 80s, not even just music. I mean, we were getting like fucking movies like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. You go to music, you have hair, you start off with like new wave. One of my favorites is the Cars. I love the Cars.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
Cars is, I don't want to say underrated because obviously it's the fucking Cars, but more people should really get into the Cars.
You can
I
tell
love,
it's them right away on every song with the Cars, that's what I like.
yeah, just one of those really good, kind of like groundbreaking bands for that time. And then later in the 80s, you get hair metal, and if that's not hard enough for you, you get Metallica and Megadeth. Which I guess that's a fun question. Again, gun to your head, Metallica or Megadeth?
Megadeth because I've interviewed them and hung out with them, and I've never got to interview Metallica, so I'm gonna have to say Megadeth.
Oh wow.
How is Dave Mustaine in real life?
Yeah. He's like a Christian or something now, right? Or
Very short with me, to be honest, like kind of very short, and then David Elfson was in Megadeth still, and he interviewed with me for a longer time, and then he's come by the podcast, and even though he's not in Megadeth, I feel like he's always a founding member and a part of it, but
Yeah.
I love Metallica's music.
I'm a big, my answer honestly usually goes Metallica. But as a rock star personality, Dave Mustaine is just so undeniable.
He's wild.
Yeah, he's so badass. And
Yeah.
when you say he's short with you, that doesn't surprise me. And I'm sure it's just because it was like a Tuesday and he wasn't feeling it. It was probably
Right.
nothing personal or.
Like, I'm not judging him, but he definitely was like I'm the rock star, I'm cool, kind of vibes, and it was like, okay, I got it.
He is Megadeth. I will say David Ellison is also, if there's like not even a 1 and 2, but like a 1A and 1B, I would say
Yeah.
Mustaine is 1A and Dave is 1B. It really is a shame that he got kicked out the way he did, and it all came out
I
that,
know.
Oh, what is the song that Dave Mustaine said he wrote and Metallica like stole it? Or
That's like every song he says.
I know.
That's what he says. Yeah.
I can't remember. I remember reading that though on Rock Feed that he's just basically saying that the whole style even of Metallica is
Yeah.
what he's created, and so that's wild that they have a riff this long.
I know Metal Militia was one of the songs. Honestly, I believe him because you can hear it when you listen to their first record and a little bit of Ride the Lightning, and then you go on to, and as much as I love Injustice for All, by the time that comes out, you can hear that Dave Mustaine's not in that style. Like, so I do believe him. I think they probably did take a lot of his riffs, and he's got writing credits on the first album. Like, it's undeniable that he did write stuff on that album, and they took it.
Yeah.
Band stuff is just like super complicated like that. Even me playing in bands that never got anywhere near Metallica or Megadeth. Like, just like I've always been fascinated by. I've always kind of jokingly said I want to go to school, get like a psychology degree, and open up my own practice where I specifically talk to people in bands and like help people in bands like figure out their, because it is like a weird back and forth. Like you're in relationships with people, and at the same time, like I get dramatic, and I'm like, when you're in a band with people, like you go to war with people. Like, yeah, me and my last band, there's members of that band that fucking hate me today, and but like to this day, if they walked in my room right now, I'd stop the show and get up and give them a hug and be like, I missed you. Like, it's,
You're like family. So even though you fight, you're gonna work it out.
yeah, it is very brotherly, which goes back to the whole, like Hall and Oates, they all hate each other, and everyone in Poison.
But it's weird. The Hall and Oates thing is weird. It's like, dude, like I don't understand. Like, you're seeing all these like stars die. I feel like if you saw like Ozzy die, like you would be like, man, we have a short time left. Like, why don't we just like fuck all the silly disputes we have with each other? Like, let's just keep going. I don't know.
It's like Fleetwood Mac. Look at Stevie and Lindsay. They're coming back together apparently, and doing all these seasons. So I love it when you can come together and forget or forgive each other of why you didn't get along.
Stevie Nicks is such a babe too, such a queen, honestly.
Yes.
Like, surpasses babe. My mom, my music taste, a lot of it comes from my mom. My mom has the best music taste of all time, except for the fact that she doesn't like Pantera. I'll never understand that one. But my mom is hardcore. My mom is anything after Master of Puppets Metallica is not hardcore enough for her. She is heavy with her taste. A lot of great music taste from her. And she loves Fleetwood Mac, loves Stevie Nicks. She instilled that in me. Speaking of bands having beef, have you ever been in the room to do an interview when bands are like not getting along and it gets kind of weird?
I wouldn't say during interviews, because on the radio they were really short, a lot of call-ins, and if they were even in person, it was like 10 to 15 minutes. They were on their way to a show. So the podcast is where they've gotten longer, and I stretch it to 30 to 40 minutes. But usually they're really good at PR stunts, right? Everyone's getting along, everyone's happy during the interview. It's been more post-interview that I've seen bands not get along, or it's actually been less within the bands, but other bands not liking other bands. So that's like really common.
That does seem like it would be
like the Alien Ant Farm and CKY. They didn't like each other at Aftershock a couple weeks before the punch got thrown, and they kicked CKY off of the European tour. So you could tell something was brewing.
And I love Alien Ant Farm too. Super underrated, I would say, for sure.
Yes.
People need to listen to more than just the Michael Jackson cover.
Such good music.
Yeah, their song "Wish" movies is like their biggest single besides the Michael Jackson cover, but that anthology album is 10 out of 10.
So good.
I guess upcoming stuff. We talked a little bit before we got on here. You're going to be at Aftershock. What are your plans for Aftershock?
I'm so excited. You guys will have to come. It's Danny's biggest festival, Aftershock Music Festival in Sacramento every year. It's October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There's 115 bands. I will be backstage interviewing all 4 days in media. So Blink-182 is the big first night party, popping it off on Thursday. Then we've got Deftones, Chevelle, Marilyn Manson, In This Moment, Rob Zombie. I mean, it's all the best in punk, pop, thrash, metal. It's just kind of a rocker's dream. And so it's like my vacation, even though it's in my backyard of Sacramento, I feel like I'm vacationing for 4 days. And my goal, so I send out 115 press requests. I just finished that last week. So I'm trying to get everybody. Right now, I only have 6 scheduled. That's kind of normal. And then the week before, the managers go crazy on emailing me back. And I'm just trying to schedule all these bands in 4 days and try to get out and see some bands, right? Like that's fun to also be a fan. So I hope I get to do that.
Yeah. So how did you the press releases? What was the process for that for you?
So it's crazy. I started in 2014 when Danny started the festival, and it was a little 2-day festival with maybe 20 bands. And I just left Rock 96.7 morning radio. And I was like, oh, this would be so fun to do for my YouTube channel on the side, kind of just for shits and gigs. And so I started a long time ago. So luckily I got my foot into the door to now it's really difficult to get into media at this festival. But so just keep sticking with it. Keep doing what and being nice. I joke too when you show up, being a nice person. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was surfing through your clips and I saw this is at this point I'm just gonna kind of fanboy for a second. You've talked to John 5.
Yes, I love him.
Oh man. I think John
Couple
5 is
times.
That's
I think
insane.
he is the
Yeah.
best guitar player in the world today.
Me too.
I think it's super unfortunate. I think the reason John 5 is not like a household name in the way that I think he should be is because he's always played for this kind of the solo band acts, like he played for Marilyn Manson and then Rob Zombie.
It's always
Yeah,
B-rated
so
pretty
he never got
much,
to
kinda,
be in like a
yeah.
full band name, and even now he's in Motley Crue, and there's this whole war of the fans with Mick Mars and Motley Crue, and it's very unfortunate. But he's awesome. I would imagine he was nice as could be.
He's a sweetheart, and his wife Rita is really nice. I might have Rita buy the podcast. We've been talking, and you're right. That's a good point that he's so confident in himself, he doesn't take the spotlight or need it, even though he is the best guitar
Mm.
player of our generation. And he'll go behind somebody like Manson and Zombie and Crew that are larger than life acts. But now I will say, you say John 5, and a lot of people know who he is, and people are buying shirts that just say John 5, and he's his own act by himself too. And he does his own tours.
Yeah, and releases albums and which is
Yeah.
awesome. He really is like a guitarist, you know. And
Yeah.
I know I've heard the
Yeah.
story he tells a million times. I think one of his biggest early inspirations was that show, some show Hee Haw or something like back in the day when he was a kid watching with his dad or something. And
Yeah.
when it
Well,
was
I love
funny,
too, all the rock stars cheat on their girlfriends and wives constantly, right? I see it all the time. He takes his girlfriend and then she became his wife everywhere next to him at
Uh-huh.
all times, and then introduces like everybody, this is my beautiful girlfriend and my beautiful wife. So I just applaud him, and I love who he is outside of even guitar, that he's just a stand-up guy.
yeah, there are no scandals that
Yes.
involve him. Yeah,
No.
Yeah, that
no
is
one's ever said a
wild,
bad
They're
word
yeah.
into
about
each
him.
other. It's cute. They're obsessed with each other, and it's been hella long. I'm like, goals, couples goals.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, no, he's I think he's one of the best just like all around musicians and rock stars today, and more people should. Like you said, he does have fans, of course. There are people that appreciate him, but you know, like people like my mom doesn't know the name John 5 if you mention it to her, and like I said, huge music fan. She does now because of me, but um one of the funnier things I do have to say is John 5 and Nikki Six now playing in the same band. They either need a somebody
That's
4 or a
wild.
somebody
That is
7.
wild.
That's so funny. They need Tommy 7 now. He's gonna change it from Lee to 7.
Yeah.
5,
Did
6,
you ever
7,
hear
Vince
that
8.
one-off track that they did? They did a Johnny Cash cover. It was John 5, Nikki Six on bass, Rob Zombie on vocals, and a Tommy. I can never remember his last name. I think you've actually talked to him too.
Atomic Tommy or no?
No, I can never remember names on the channel. Tommy, what is it? Clufetus? Clufetus?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, from UFO. I haven't heard this cover though.
It was a one-off for a show on Netflix. It's a Johnny Cash cover. It's under the name L.A. Rats. It's I've Been Everywhere by Johnny Cash. You should check that out. It's a really
I
good,
want to. Yeah.
yeah, a very small one. Rob Zombie posted about it years ago when it came out and said L.A. Rats, and I thought they were doing like a new supergroup band, and it is,
Yeah.
but it's just one song for a Netflix show, and yeah, it's a really cool little collaboration. I almost wonder if maybe that is kind of where the seeds were planted when like John 5 and Nikki Six started talking to get it, have
Oh,
him and
that's a good
Motley.
point. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a really good track. Definitely whenever we're done on here. I think we got like 15-ish minutes left. Shoot, Johnny, think of something real quick. Think of something good.
Yeah, so I did want to bring this up. So you said you were around the 90s. So could you explain for like people like what was the cultural change that you saw like with all the like decadence and everything in the 80s and how it changed into the 90s and how people I guess teenagers changed overnight, music changed overnight, culture too.
Well, everybody jokes the 90s is the hangover from the 80s, and I agree with that, right? Like the 80s were fun and party and wild and hair and glitter, and then the 90s were more sad and baggy jeans and beige shirts and, like I said, the Kurt Cobain singing his heart out. I love to feel things very intensely though. So I loved the rawness. I love acoustic. I even got so into, say, Matchbox 20, Everclear, Goo Goo Dolls, like more emotional 90s rock, some soft rock too, that I kind of liked the hangover, the sadness, the somberness of the 90s.
Yeah. No, I think someone had explained. I don't know who it was. Someone explained like the '80s was like them like growing up and partying as a teenager, as a youth, and then like the '90s is like you became an adult and you're like, okay, what now?
I got to get my shit together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got to get my shit together. So you're so fucking depressed because the reality of being an adult is not nothing but a good time anymore. You
Right?
know.
I feel that too. Man, I wanna stay in WASP category and just blacky lawless party 24/7 and not grow up, you know? I don't like being an adult.
I've always kind of thought the 80s to 90s transition was the 90s I think was really the first time the music became like a somber kind of like up until then music was always like a celebratory thing.
Yeah,
Like in
yeah.
the 40s or 50s, you go out to the jukebox with your girlfriend. In the 70s, you go to a festival and stay in a tent with your girlfriend. In the 80s, you go see a hair metal band and get drunk with your girlfriend. And then in the 90s, it became about oh, there's political issues that we care about. Let's sing about these. And Alice in Chains is writing songs about drug addiction and there's have always been ballads and sad songs and music, but it just was always more of a celebratory thing. One of the things I always like to point out was that, you know, like one of our generation's theme songs was "I'm Not Okay" by My Chemical Romance, whereas like our mom's theme song was "Nothing But a Good Time" by Poison. And
Wow, that's a good point.
I love the
Yeah.
depressing music, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying all 90s music is depressing, but yeah, it just became more about like, oh, let's talk about the bad stuff in life as opposed to it seems like all music before was about let's only, you know, like more escapism, right? In the 90s, we kind of escaped escapism and we're just like, you know, I know Vince Neil's talked about it, and Vince Neil being,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
not
my favorite quote. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
not quite as deep as other people, but Vince Neil was like, I always hated the 90s stuff. You know, we used to sing about going out, getting some chicks and getting drunk. And then the 90s came around and it became, I hate my parents and my life is so fucked up. And I was like, okay, he's wording it very sloppily, but there is something to that.
And he
You know,
also add to that, he also was like, dude, everybody knows their lives are fucked up. Like, why do I want to go out and hear someone, continue to tell me how fucked up my life is, when I could just go out and escape what I'm trying, just escapism, as you said. Like that's what the '80s is so great, and I think even now, like we could see, like the '80s is so, the music was so great and positive and artistic that whenever it comes on, everybody sings along. After really the '80s, like I don't really, I mean, mid '90s, sure, but like, what song today could you go and say, it's kind of like singing Poison or
Ain't nothing but a good time when you get to the
yeah, nothing
party.
but a
Yeah.
good time. Like it's
Yeah.
that or Bon Jovi or Motley Crue, and it's like those songs go through generations. Like your grandmother, your mother, and you know the song, and it's like what I feel like that is why I wish if rock and roll was to make this like grand comeback now, that it would be fun like the '80s because we kind of need that in society today. I don't think we need any more like nihilistic kind of lyrics anymore. I think it had its place and it has its place, obviously, but like I think we should bring back the fun, man. Honestly,
Like
which
happier
is
rock to distract us from the reality of what's going
of
on in the world and how divided we are. But yeah, you put on a
correct.
song and you're like, "Oh, I'm in a good mood. Everything's going to be okay. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm just going to pop open a beer and go get laid and do drugs," which is what I would like to do again. That'd be great.
All right. Okay, I
we,
have
we,
one controversial question.
Yeah.
So, do you believe? What do you believe around the situation surrounding Kurt Cobain's death?
It is
Is Courtney Love
fascinating.
at fault, or did he just blow himself off?
I don't want to, I'm not the conspiracy theorist that thinks she completely did it, right? But let's be, authentic. When you get into a relationship, that person has a lot of influence over you and what's going on. And obviously, Kurt was a tormented, incredible artist with a dark mind, though. And so I think he still for sure committed suicide, but probably had a lot of darkness and a lot of problems going on internally with his relationship that would drive somebody that already has mental health issues to then take his own life. So I still think it was an inside job, but obviously his surroundings played a part on what he's
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah, I tend to, I guess, be kind of similar. I think he did it. I kind of feel bad for Courtney. Imagine just living your life with everyone thinking you did this thing.
Yeah. And they have
What-
a kid, everything. Like that's rough.
Yeah. When I was on drugs, I also had a partner in crime. I had a girlfriend the entire time on it. We were like the codependent. So again, not that I can relate to Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love in any way with like music or fame. I do know what it's like to be on that particular drug with a, you know, so to me, I'm like, oh, dude, of course he did it himself. I can tell you, they were getting into fights and it was probably miserable and it's not a happy thing. Everyone likes to portray it like, oh, Kurt was going to divorce Courtney and it was going to be this big triumphant thing. He was going to get away from her. And I'm like, no, he was probably torn up about the fact that his marriage was falling apart because of this drug that he couldn't kick or that she couldn't, whatever was going on.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit back to right before this. I mean, similar, like darker stuff of music. We were talking about before we all got on, how we all kind of like to avoid politics. We all like to, more escapism. Like we're gonna get on here. We're gonna be funny. We're gonna talk about music. We're gonna talk about pop culture, whatever. Do you think? I guess before I say what do you think about it, do you agree? Because I tend to think that everything is kind of over politicized nowadays. Every pop star has some message about an election or this message or that message, and again, I'm all down for people expressing themselves. Say whatever you want to say, but I kind of yearn for like, I like Sabrina Carpenter. I think she's just a very vapid, generic, vanilla singing and dancing pop star. But even her, she'll do an interview and start talking about this deep message behind her album cover. And I'm like, no, it's not. You're just a hot chick on your hands and knees on an album cover. That's all it is. And that's totally fine. So yeah, do you have any opinions on that? Do you think everything is
Yeah.
kind of too
Pop stars are very influential, so we need to be careful about how we use them and where money goes into certain hands. And young kids don't understand who's getting paid to say certain things. I think we should let doctors talk about medical decisions for your body. And I don't want a pop star telling you what you should put in your body and that's safe or
100%.
not. So I just want to keep that separate. The music should be fun and let a doctor, or politician do their job.
Yeah, let politicians do politics. Like, why would I want to listen to Steven Tyler, or somebody tell me how I should vote? I'm like, bro, I
Yeah.
don't give a shit. Just sing my song.
Exactly.
Like, that's what you do your job. Like, I wouldn't want my politician to try to be a rock star to me or try to be an artist. I wouldn't want a politician to get in front of fucking Congress and start singing. It's like, why? Because that's not their job. That's not their gift. They stay with what they need to do.
That's a
And
good
my
point.
rock stars and musicians need to stay in music. And I think that's why music kind of sucks in a big ways, because they keep trying to push this like political views, like, oh man, if you don't agree with what's happening in Gaza, or if you don't agree with Trump or whatever, then don't listen to my music. And it's like, when did that become a thing? Like,
What I dislike too,
like,
when a band
what the
says, yeah,
fuck?
don't, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus just said,
Mhm.
if you voted for a certain candidate, don't listen to our music or come to our shows. Why? Why can't I have a different political view and enjoy your music? Why lose money? I don't understand that.
I was gonna say I've never heard of a worse business. Like,
Yeah.
like, hey, let's stop people from spending money on our music and listening to us on Spotify. And
Right.
um,
No.
all right, we got a couple of minutes left.
I
Someone
gotta
think of
pick up
something
the
good to say.
kiddos.
Yeah, someone think of something good to say to end this thing.
I don't know what's coming up next for you, other than like next shows, new interviews coming out.
What are your plans for the channel?
So I'm really excited. Like I said, it's been a year and a half with this channel, and it's been so fun to just be by myself doing whatever I want. After Aftershock, I've got November completely booked with a bunch of bands, and I'm doing more OnlyFans girls, which I'm really excited about.
That is
I
awesome.
love the sex industry. I want to support them, and I want this to be a safe place for these women, so they don't think they're going to be teased or anything. I love wild questions, and I worked as a stripper, on and off at Crazy Girls in LA for a long time. So I just want to.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, like it was such good memories to me too, and I'm so proud of it. And so I just want to have more women in the sex industry by my channel.
I've always wanted to have, and of course we've gotten into like deeper conversations about what like porn in the country affects on people, but I've always wanted to have OnlyFans girls on. I dated a stripper. I've always wanted to have OnlyFans
Nice.
girls on and strippers because I think too many people see them as just like sex crazed maniacs. And so I've always wanted to have like a stripper on and be like, hey, do you like the Beatles? Or like, what's your favorite movie? You know what I mean? Like, I think there
Yeah.
are too many guys that think about, they see an OnlyFans girl and they legitimately think that if they run into her in a grocery store, like that girl is going to, come after them. And it's like, no, dude, she's probably just like a
It's so
person.
weird. Yeah, it's like for me, it's like real quick. Like, it's just think about how like fucked up society is. Like, you can watch UFC, you can see someone get their brains like pretty much bashed in, get their face bashed in, see them get injuries. But if someone wants to have sex, tawdry, we can't see tits on screen, but you can
Yeah.
see a guy getting violently beat up. Like, how backwards is that? I mean, that's like weird,
More
no?
power to these women, and a lot of them have such dark pasts, and they've been through a lot of trauma, and they're really strong,
Yeah,
and they're kind of taking control of their body now, so I'm just really proud of what they're getting into, so I wanna do more of that. Like I said, I'm trying to get Tim Dillon by the beginning of next year, we're gonna chat
nice.
Hell yeah.
again, so there's a lot of, goals I have for 2026.
Right on. Hell yeah. Well, we'll cut it. Steph's Rock Show. I'll put all your stuff in the description. Not that I have any clout to offer you. If anything, your clout will help us. So no, it's awesome
Yeah.
that you
I
came on.
love doing this. Thank you for having me by. I love going on everyone's show and talking, and it's so fun.
Yeah, right on, right on. Good time, good time. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to
You
you
too.
later.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
And we're all here today to groove and have a beautiful time together, and that it's only the beginning. Sometimes I think I'm drunk and then I realize I am drunk. Sometimes I think I'm drunk and then I realize I am